Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk about 10 or so things that I would like to see in Endgame, because it's just around the corner, less than a month away, presumably, if it's going to land around when the movie lands, or slightly before, slightly after. And of course, it also coincides with Marvel Future Fight version 5.0, the big 4-year anniversary. Yay, streamers and confetti, and who's handing out the cake? No, but seriously, because it's such a huge update, there's so many things that we can expect to see, but I would like to kind of give you my opinions and my speculation on what I want to see, where I want to see the game go, the direction I kind of want to paddle the boat in. Because it's a fun conversation. You guys can tell me what you want to see, what you hope to see, and then we can see at the end how many of us were right. This is kind of like the YouTube version of bingo, I guess. Kind of blind bingo. I don't really know. I don't really play a lot of bingo, if you didn't already guess that. But let's start it off with the first thing that I really want to see is Tier 3 Thanos. That's why I got the page on here. He's a villain. He's been so dominant in Marvel Future Fight as the bad guy for so long. He's kind of mirrored the MCU in that way. And every time he's been kind of on the edges of being irrelevant, he always manages to jump back. Now, whether or not that means we're going to see a third uniform for him with the battle armor and that kind of crazy double-sided sword axe cleaver thing, I don't know. But whatever it is, I hope he at least gets a Tier 3. I mean, there's so much speculation on the Tier 3 skill alone, whether it's going to be the snap, whether he's going to wave his gauntlet around and see the Infinity Stones. But I just really like seeing those kinds of huge, colossal characters that are built up over time get their due in Marvel Future Fight. And Thanos has been one of the best characters for that. And he's got some of the coolest animations in the game, so I can't wait to see what they do with his Tier 3 skill. But speaking of Thanos, there are a lot of OG Avengers, and this is kind of my second point. There are a lot of OG Avengers that really have not gotten enough of their due. So Captain America gets a crazy uniform in a Tier 3. Iron Man gets a great uniform in a Tier 3. Spider-Man gets a great uniform in a Tier 3 over time. But a lot of the other OG Spider-Man's not even an OG Avenger. A lot of the OG Avengers have been left in the dust. Pun intended. So I really hope that Netmarble pays very close attention to characters like Hawkeye and gives him, a super badass Ronin uniform, and really, if not a Tier 3, then at least like a crazy uniform with level 70 a la Winter Soldier. But we also kind of need the same sort of love for Black Widow, because she really was one of the forgotten characters of the update last year. And man, for all the action she's getting in the trailers, for all of the action she's presumably going to get in the movie as a pivotal, original 6 member, she hasn't really been portrayed as such in Marvel Future Fight. So I think, as much as I don't want to see her in a Quantum uniform because I like the way she looks now, I think she deserves it, and she deserves an even bigger bump than she got with Infinity War to come up to the level of characters like Winter Soldier. I think all of the Avengers should be at least this powerful, if not more powerful, and they're not, which is kind of weird. And including in that list, of course, has to be Hulk. I mean, he got completely shafted in Infinity War because he got his ass whooped and then he transformed back into Bruce Banner. I don't really care what they do, if they go Professor Hulk, if they go Grey Hulk, if they just give him another uniform with a quantum suit. I don't really care. He just needs to be brought into 2019. It's a new year. He needs fracture on his skills. He needs, more slam jam. He needs more, pavement crushing abilities. We've seen what they can do with Juggernaut. We've seen what they can do with other super bulky type characters ripping up the earth and throwing it at the enemy. And so we need that from the Hulk, and we need it bad. He needs it almost as badly as Hawkeye needs it. It's actually pretty sad. And then, on a lesser note, Iron Man and Thor. I mean, Thor, we've discussed how he's fallen off in comparison to, like, Captain Marvel, but he really shouldn't. Especially considering how powerful he is in the MCU movies, he should really be stronger in Marvel Future Fight, especially since they're taking a lot of their cues from the MCU. On the other hand, Iron Man is just... he needs a rework to his Tier 3 skill. If it's ever going to happen for any character with a new uniform, it has to happen. The House Party Protocol sucks. It's more like a suck party protocol, and not the good kind of suck party. So yeah, they really need to kind of admit their mistake, bite the bullet, and buff this skill big time. And I think if they just buff his Tier 3 skill and they give him a couple of buffs on his skills with a new uniform, he'll be more than good enough to call himself an OG Avenger. That's kind of a really long point, but that was my kind of second thing that I really want to see for existing Avengers characters to kind of balance out against the threat of Thanos and his kind of insane power level. The third thing that I really want to see is reworks to PvP, and I kind of hinted at it in the Deadpool video, but there's just not enough of an emphasis on PvP in Marvel Future Fight, and whether that has to do with server quality or whether it has to do with server space or ping, lag, and stuff like that. I'm not saying we need live PvP, that may not be a possibility, but we just need more. I mean, right now, there are basically 2 PvP game modes that you can invest in and you can kind of build for. There's Timeline Battle, which you only get 10 attempts per day for free, and then there's Alliance Conquest, which, I mean, you do get a lot more attempts and you use more of your roster, which is great, but you're not actually playing the characters, so you have a lot of situations where, I mean, at least once per day, you're going to have a situation where your team gets destroyed when they shouldn't have because of some bullshit skill rotation that you can't plan for or fight off. So, yeah, the reworks to existing PvP game modes, Battle World needs to be reworked, and honestly, Battle World should be on all the time. We need more PvP modes. If you compare them to PvE, we've got World Boss, we've got Shadowland, which are 2 huge PvE game modes. You've also got Alliance Battle and Alliance Battle Extreme. You've got 3 huge PvE game modes. Then you go over here, you got Giant Boss Raid, 4 huge PvE game modes that you could spend, you know, in some cases hours playing, and then you have lesser PvE modes like World Boss Invasion that you can also spend a lot of time playing, Legendary Battle a few times per day, Villain Siege, compared to Timeline Battle and Alliance Conquest. And Alliance Conquest isn't even open 7 days a week, so it's like 1.5 PvP game modes compared to 4, easily 5 or 6 PvE game modes. It's crippling. Don't even get me started on Alliance Tournament. It's not even available for most alliances. It's a complete joke. Number 4, the fourth thing that I want to see is a new game mode. And, you know, if they rework one of these old-ass game modes enough, it could basically be a brand new game mode. So this doesn't necessarily have to be a new game mode, but if they completely gave Battle World a facelift, if they completely changed around Alliance Conquest and they made it like Alliance Tournament and they made it for all alliances or whatever, if they had some extreme mode for World Boss Invasion that's harder, that gives tier 3 material rewards, whatever the case may be, we need something new to do in the game, and it can't just be a legendary battle. I know we just got a big buff to Shadowland, so I don't have the biggest expectations or hopes that we're going to get another new game mode, but I do think that it's high time Netmarble starts paying attention a little bit more to PvP, because there's a lot of untapped potential for Marvel Future Fight, and a lot of love recently has been given to PvE. I mean, we got an Epic Quest 2 updates ago, or 3 updates ago. 2 updates ago we got, or 1 update ago we got Shadowland. A few more updates before that we got Giant Boss Raid. So, like, the last 6 months plus have been just PvE, 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 PvE. In addition to that, my 5th point that I would like to see them do in Endgame for that update for the 5.0 for the biggie is buffed rewards. We've talked about it in different videos, so I'll just kind of quickly summarize. Alliance Battle Extreme rewards suck ass. They need to be better. Shadowland past stage 30 rewards suck ass. The chests are not good enough. Those rewards need to be buffed. But in addition to that, Alliance Conquest, the rewards suck. You get 2 million gold for wasting multiple hours of your day for multiple days. I mean, I don't even have jobs that pay that well. That's just complete garbage, or that pay that badly. I mean, that's basically, you're talking about volunteer work at this point. Even Timeline Battle, the rewards have not changed since it was introduced, which is completely insane. So the fact that exists, and it's like 4 years almost with this exactly the same structure, is pretty bonkers, and of course it needs to change. Another thing that hasn't changed in a while that should is inventory, and this is my 6th kind of hope. We need at least 50 free inventory spaces after this update. There's just too many things in the game that take up spots. You've got, of course, ISO 8, new cards, custom gear, but the biggest victim, or the biggest enemy that we've been a victim of lately is type enhancement. They've introduced at least, you know, what is this, 6 12, 18, 24, at least 24 spots just taken away immediately by just playing a few rounds of GBR, not to mention the fact they've been giving it for free. And every time we get a new character, their biometrics, if they're not native tier 2, they go on this list as well. So you've got Sabretooth, you've got Juggernaut, you've got Warpath. That takes up another 3 slots permanently, because you're not going to waste every single biometric just to get 1 slot back. It's bizarre. So I think at least 50 free slots for the inventory, possibly 100, because I think last time they buffed it was from 400 or 500 up to 600, but it's definitely needs to be buffed. Number 7 is also something that needs to be buffed. It is the card situation. And I think they can take a page from the CTP selector that we've got from the Ant-Man Legendary Battle. Great item. And they should create, and we were hoping for one in Captain Marvel, create a CT or a premium card selector a la the CTP selector. And so basically, after the Legendary Battle or for some other thing that you do, whatever, I don't really care how you obtain it, whether you have to pay crystals for a Legendary Battle and then complete some sort of funky task, but they should give you the opportunity to choose a specific premium card, whether it's Baby Spider-Man or Cable. You know, some people are doing it to fix their cards, some people are doing it to complete a collection, but it really needs to be there. Especially, it also needs to include the Korean cards. It doesn't have to include the Monsters Unleashed cards. I understand you guys are trying to milk us for tons of money on those card packs, and that's why they're not always all featured. They're featured one at a time in the chest. I don't think I haven't noticed. They're not featured right now, but when they are featured, it's only one at a time for those new Monsters Unleashed cards. They're sneaky as hell. But seriously, the premium card selector should definitely be a thing at least once per account. Piggybacking off of that into my next point, reduced card RNG. It's been a long time, and cards are so important in Marvel Future Fight, and the more that I try to help people, the more that I do roast videos, the more that I talk to newer players and even intermediate players, it's so obvious that cards are the biggest hurdle to getting better at the game and to actually making use of your characters. And it's really frustrating when you see someone who builds up their characters properly, they pay attention, they get the right uniforms, they build the right Uru, the right Obelisk, the right ISO weight set, and then they're like, man, Cynicalex, I still can't really complete the content. And you're like, well, let's look at your cards. And you look at their stats and they're trash, and you're like, well, that's the problem right there. And it basically cripples every single character on your roster. So imagine an obstacle that's literally holding back 187 characters. That's insane. So, you know, having some sort of limiting factor on the RNG where after a certain number of rolls, one of the stats locks and you can kind of just re-roll it for gold. Whether it's, you know, it doesn't even have to be like soon. Maybe after 20 rolls or 25 rolls, one of the stats will lock. And then after 50 rolls, another stat will lock. I mean, that's even just saying that is insane, because that means you're gonna have to dump a minimum of 50 6-star cards or 75 if it resets just to lock 2 of the stats. But just something to make it a little bit less painful. We get obelisks quickly enough, and there's fewer stats that we're looking for, so we can narrow down the options more easily. I mean, there's basically just a few subtypes of obelisks that you would roll in the first place, but with cards it's completely different. You could have, you know, there's like 5 different top sets of cards, and there's probably at least, you know, 10 to 15 very, very good cards that you could use. And then even within the card itself, there are potentially different stats that you may want to roll. Like maybe someone wants this card with cooldown, energy attack, and max HP, but someone else wants energy attack, physical attack, max HP. So it's pretty insane that they've never really made this easier, besides introducing cards that have more fixed stats, but you still have the same bullshit happening where the random options just literally never roll to what you want. And I have proof of this with this goddamn card. So it's definitely something that they should take a look at, and they should try to make a little bit easier. Whether they give us more 6-star cards to re-roll, which gives you more re-roll chances, or they find ways to reduce the RNG by perhaps removing one of the options, or just letting you lock it after a certain number of failed rolls. I don't know, but it has to change. Number 9 on the list, because we've already run through 8 different things that I want to see in Endgame, is new characters. And I left this one pretty much for the end because I would personally be fine with no new characters, but I felt like it would be kind of an easy thing for people to pick on and complain about if I didn't mention new characters at all. So of course, Okoye, M'Baku, and Rescue are probably the three big ones that people are going to mention. Of course, Okoye and M'Baku have both been in Infinity War already. Whether they got dusted, whether they're going to show up alive again is kind of up for debate. But I mean, we already have M'Baku in the game. He's right here. He's got the character model, so it's probably very easy to translate him into an actual character. I don't imagine that's too hard, and I would love to see another kind of OP female speed character like Okoye. And then Rescue, you know, it's a much more of a hypothetical than an actual character because we've never seen Pepper Potts in that uniform and kind of as a superhero rather than just a side character, but it is a possibility and a lot of people are kind of banking on it. Finally, number 10, I thought I would throw it back and I would suggest OG music and the return of that option. I mean, not the return, or the introduction of the return of the old music via an options menu. Now, I know that Netmarble works really hard on the music in the game, and I know that some of you guys just play with the music off, which is whatever, but for some of you, you really enjoy the nostalgia of the original music, and you like it possibly more than the new music, and since Netmarble spent so much time and effort, and the people, the sound engineers, I remember there was a video about it, you know, maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, where they discussed how they designed the in-game music and the in-game sound effects. It would be really nice for them to kind of pay homage to that by allowing you somewhere in the settings to just, you know, turn on old music, and it would basically just play the OG tracks instead of playing the new music. And it wouldn't be very hard to do, I imagine. It would add a little bit of bulk to the game files, like whatever, 50 megabytes or 100 megabytes, but it shouldn't be too bad for most phones nowadays. And I think it would make a lot of players happy, and it's just kind of like a fluff thing, and I kind of like it. So let me know what you guys think. What are your top 10, or just what are some things you want to see from the end game update? The engines and the hype cars got to start turning on and revving up, because we're close, boys. We're like a month away, more or less. I don't know, but I'm feeling like, you know, we're 3 to 4 weeks away from possibly the biggest update this game has ever seen. So I am stoked. Hit me up in the comments. Subscribe if you enjoy the content, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.